Hello, my Teaser King family. How is everybody today? No, I didn't do a class yesterday. I was just too exhausted. We can talk about the draft. Um,
So, this mansion at one time belonged to the grandson Cornelius Vanderbilt, one of the richest. We've increased.
all right. So I had a big last couple of days. Had 3 interviews in 24 hours. So I had Thursday at 1, small company. I don't even know what they do, sewers in the street and sweep roads and like sweepers. Um, Nothing too exciting, but it's a paycheck. It's gold. Then I had an automotive one yesterday at 11, uh, which I thought went well. And then I had with the utility company DTE at 1 o'clock yesterday. So it was, you get up for it. And what I do is I read everybody. So I kind of said, you want to see if I can do the job. So I'm going to beat you to it and say, this is what I did at Mercedes. I did the job and here's what I did. And it like answered most of their questions. And it freaked them out a little bit because it's like, how did you know? And I'm like, well, because I can anticipate it. And I said, I'm a good problem solver and good in finance and economics and everything. So anyway, we'll see. So that's 3 jobs yesterday, and we will figure out. Uh, I'd say by the end of next week, hopefully we get one or at least one offer, and if not, probably my guess is I'll get. But I nailed it. I did good. I was very stoic. This helps. If you ever want to interview, do some of this because you talk and you figure out what to do, so you're not shy to talk in front of anybody or talk about yourself or this is what I can do for you. Really, the interview is what can I do for you? So that's really what we're trying to do. All right. So that's where I was. I was just too tired last night. I fell asleep and just it was like, okay, I knew I was going to do today's, and there was nothing there. There was some baseball that had already left, so really not much to do. So we're doing baseball picks today. We talk about the draft. Talk about Mark McGuire had his show on, and Egon has one. So let's start with gold. Just to recap where that's at, and then we'll get into well, we can do baseball or gold. It doesn't matter which order. So gold price is, I think it's 23.90. Come on. Every once in a while, the site like doesn't, like pauses. What the fuck? Come on. So I'm on the site and there's no charts. So there was a chart a minute ago. I don't know. Anyway, silver I thought was 28.80 and gold's 23.92. Hey, Greg and John, I'm fine. How are you? Yeah, I can't get this site to work for some reason. All right. So why don't we go to baseball? Maybe that site will pop up. So looking at last night's games, so I'm looking more into the pitching and the hitting. So I'm in the box score and I basically the phone from hell. Come on. My phone's working well today, or my internet is. All right. What are you not going to let me show? Come on. Let's Otani. So this is the Dodgers. So I'm looking to see if they're decent or not. Quite a lineup for the Dodgers. They start with Betts, who's great at he's a 356 hitter. No, he's a 352 hitter. Otani 356, and then Friedman 259, and Will Smith 356. Hernandez 274. Keith Hernandez 182. Pages 200. Rojas 269, and Charlie Taylor's hitting a whole whopping 53. So they got a pretty good hitting for baseball. It's a pretty good hitting team. And their pitching's not all that good. So you can see why we like, and it was a 9-4 game. The Mets beat them. Their bullpen's not very good. So we can see, hey, we're going to take the Dodgers over a lot. All right. So let's go through today's games. All right. 420. So the 1 o'clock game, it's 11 o'clock, so we got 2 hours. Washington is not sure who they'll take. How do you know that, Greg and John? You can't trust what you're reading. You don't know. They probably know exactly who they're going to take. This is my whole point about being stoic. You got to know who you're listening to, right? You got to. Where do you get that comment from? You know, so if they take Drake May, they're the dumbest team. You know, you already got Sam Howell from North Carolina. Drake May's no better, probably worse. So if you want to waste your pick on a guy that I don't even know if they went 500 last year, good luck to you. I mean, Caleb didn't go. I think he just barely went 500. Caleb's not as good as they even get any. Oh, he can run. Oh, well, yeah, but I got a quarterback. I want to throw it. He's 11-10 Tampa, 14-6 Yankees. Cortez 1-1 with the 4.50. Can these teams hit without digging too far? Yeah, see, I need a team average. All right, so we have Tampa hits 249, the Yankees hit 243. I don't care about runs. Own runs, base slugging, ERA. Tampa's a 4.49. Yeah, it's too broad. I don't care. Against key stats. The only stat that matters is batting average, maybe RBIs, which they don't even show. How can you not show RBIs? Wow. Yeah, see, really what you're looking for is RBIs. You want to see if they can drive home runs. So let's go. We must understand it's an average, so therefore it happens when it should happen, and that's all we can bet on. Detroit, Minnesota, 2 o'clock. I love this. It's a 210. Milwaukee, St. Louis is a 215. Miami, Chicago's a 220. What the fuck are they doing? 45 favorite, 7.5. Reese Olson 0-2 with the 3.86 against Bailey over 0-1 with the 6.57. So we got to go over. We're going to make this one of our plays. Detroit over 7.5. We'll make this a 5-star. You got a 6.57 pitcher and a 3.86 pitcher, and you're over under 7.5. Okay, I know Minnesota has weak averages, but that doesn't mean they can't hit. It was 5-4 yesterday, so that was 9. That was a 9. See, Minnesota's got a 191 batting average. That's why it's a 7.5. They're looking at offense, not defense, not where's RBIs? Pathetic stats. But they both have low batting averages. But it really doesn't translate. It's the pitcher 1 and 2. So there's another over. Let's go Milwaukee over 8.5. We'll start ERA and maybe team runs or some offensive stat that makes sense. Not sure, but right now that's what we've got. So we've got this looks like a good over. DL Hall 0-1 with a 7-11. I mean, just 2 weak pitchers. Miami and the Cubbies. Miami 4-16. The Cubbies 12-7. Miami 1. Chicago a 2-0. Pretty good. Both teams can hit. The Dodgers 1-1 with a 6.14. And my question is, how the fuck is the Dodgers a 185 favorite? Are you kidding me? Let's look at Jose Butto. Butto with a 0 with a 0.75. He's pitched in 2 games, 6 innings, gave up 0 runs to KC and 1 to Detroit. You're making this fucking dog? Wow. And Gavin Stone with the 6.14 ERA. He's pitched in 3 games. These 3 innings, gave up 5. And against San Diego, pitched 6 innings and gave up 2. So from the starter standpoint, I like the Mets as the starter, and I think the bullpen. So let's go with the Mets as a huge dog. The ace, the 0-0 with the 0.75 is not the favorite in this game. The 1-1 with the 6.14 is the favorite, and he's given up a ton of runs in 3 games. Well, RB, are you going to play tonight and get on the field at LA? I think if Bobby plays, I would lock the game. So I like the Mets as a dog. This is a very good play. So that was a winner if you saw Verlander pitching. So he must have been, Washington 8-11. Houston's a 349. Alvarez 272. Dubin 319. They got hitting up the ass. Why it's so high. Washington. I see a lot of 1s in front of their hitters. 130. So the team ERA is Washington's 4.42, Houston 5.13, but that's without Verlander, who's back. See, that's how you dig into it. Without Verlander, it's 5.13, but with Verlander, it'll drop to 3.13. I don't care about so Houston hits 272, Washington 232. How do they leave out RBIs? Probably the most important stat, because if you got a guy on third, are you gonna score him, right? Let's see this Blanco. She's 2-0 with a 0.86. Yeah, he's pitched 3 games. Shutout, and gave up 2 to Trevor Williams. We're debating about going under or taking Houston. The first day to pit, 1 against the Niners and 3 against Oakland. A weird schedule. Washington playing Frisco 405, Boston 11-10, Pitt 11-9. Pitt a 120 favorite over under 8 with Cutter Crawford. Go Boston, beat Navy. Here we go. So Pitt is and they don't ending, right? So you don't look at it. It's not like football. I'm betting the over there, no matter who they're playing. I don't care what kind of hitting they have. All right, so we're Gallon, Arizona 3-0 with a 1.64. Wow, Kyle Harrison 2-1 with the 6 innings. So let's go Arizona. We go Soroka 0-2 with the 7 against Zach Wheeler. 0-3 with the 3. We can't take Wheeler. Let's go. Well, let's see. Do we go over? Let's see. Let's see. What are they telling us in this meaningless stats? Philly won, yes, 90 batting average. That's the thing. They don't score runs. They don't hit homers. So Chicago is like a Z team, let's say. Which is why Phil over 7.5. Now we're taking, but they will on figures. It's an average, so they. So yeah, let's go over 7.5. And we can't play Philly even if it was a normal spread because I don't trust Zach Wheeler. But here, Philly's a 3 favorite, which is mostly because the White Sox suck. So that's what they're trying to do is go against the White Sox. And I don't know. I don't smell what they're cooking. Oakland and Cleveland. Cleveland's a 165, 7.5. They're a good hitting team. Oakland 8-12, Cleveland 14 and over 7.5, and that's going to be a 5 unit. I got an 8-10 pitcher and a 5.06 pitcher, and I got an over under a 7.5. Yeah. So that's a 5-star. Go Cleveland, go over. Caleb's gonna quarterback for him. California against the Reds. California 9-11, Cincinnati 10-9. Cincinnati's a 130 favorite, 9.5. Patrick Sandoval 1-2 with the 4.67. Graham Ashcraft 4-2 with a 4.15. I think this smells like an over. Batting average. Cincinnati really doesn't. They got a 226, but they score a lot of runs. So they don't hit, but they get runs right now. And they have. But with 2 good pitchers, I can't really take a team. Again, like what the hell is going on? So I don't know. I might not eat again. I might just drink a lot and have my cherry and stuff like that. Well, I'll eat my avocados. They're fine. All right, Texas. So we went under in the game, even though it's 7.5. The pitchers are so good. See here, you got a 2.28 pitcher and a 1.93 pitcher. Let's go under. You got a 4 pitcher and a 5 pitcher ERAs and the 7 in our other game. Cubbies are a big favorite here, 225, but I wonder if it's just because Miami's so bad. Rodney Moon, so he's a new one against Shota. Arizona. Then we get into Philly over 7.5, Cleveland over 7.5, Cincy over 9.5, KC under 7.5, Texas over 9, Colorado over 10 would be Detroit over 7.5. The Cubbies, and who are they playing? But because it's 7.5, these are very small plays. My big plays are 20-unit locks, not 5-star. To call it 5 units, $5. I mean, it's not. We're not betting baseball right now, and if we do, it's a very small. So let's keep that in mind. But just to understand how to pick and what you're looking for, it's the pitcher controls the game. Baseball now, as the pitching goes, what happens is you get this shitty pitcher. He pitches 3 innings, gives up 4 runs. And then the bullpen comes in and shuts him out. And you're wondering, why don't they just go with the bullpen? Because now the bullpen is baseball. We start with the pitchers, then we got to add in the bullpen, and we got to add in how their offense is. What kind of average are they going to score? Now I know we're going on a Minnesota. It was 5-4 yesterday. We even with a weak offense, they're still going to get 3-4 runs. Each team should get a 3. So we only need, because it's a low number, 7.5. We're going to go over on it. If it was a 9, I'd probably go under. And I know Detroit doesn't score a lot because I'm listening to the games, going to the pool, and thrown 20 passes. It's the insanity of baseball. These are the worst managed teams I've ever viewed. And just take care of yourself. But now they're so dumbed down to only pitch 100 pitches that in their mind, okay, I'm at 90. I got 10 more pitches, and then I can go relax the rest of the day. It's insanity. You're professional athletes. I pitch. I know I can pitch a lot more than 100 pitches without a problem every 4 days. I'd go every day. It was a joke, and I'd throw for hours. So, this is just insanity. All right, so that's baseball. Okay, Washington is not sure who to take. Well, most of these teams, why is Chicago taking Caleb? Chicago shouldn't be taking Caleb. Should be taking Daniels. Where's Penix? How come Penix isn't even on the board? Or Bo Nix? The 2 best quarterbacks aren't even on the board. So that's what they're doing. And they're going to take all these wide receivers early, which is ridiculous. And they're going to take, a defensive guy because he's from Alabama, which is a joke. Big mistake. All these guys taking like offensive linemen, big mistake. It's a mistake if you want to win. So if Oakland and Denver, who both need quarterbacks, go with offensive linemen, they don't want to win. They're just cheap. They're being cheap. They're paying to their budget. The Lions do that all the time. They'll take an offensive lineman. It doesn't cost them anything. It's the cheapest position on the board. You don't win with an offensive line. So you win with the quarterback. Let's get that settled. I can win with Mahomes more than I can win with a good offensive line. Look at Dallas. They had a great offensive line. How many Super Bowls did they win? Oh, yeah, none. But they had a good offensive line. But they have a lousy quarterback. The quarterback's the key. So Oakland and Denver has a chance to get Penix and Bo Nix. They should be getting Penix and Bo Nix. You can always draft an offensive lineman in the 2nd round, and the 3rd round, and the 5th round, and they're all the same. Oh, you started for Ohio State, and I can pick you up in the 5th round? I bet you're just as good as the guy who went in the 1st round because it's freaking offensive line. What do? They don't do anything. So it doesn't matter about that. You don't really care about wasting a pick on an offensive line if you're trying to win. Most of these teams aren't. And then most of these teams don't know what they're doing. So if Washington takes Drake May, they're not going to win a game for another 2 or 3 years. He's not better than Howell. So you drafted Howell, you fucked that up. He's terrible. Now you're going to take another guy from North Carolina because Howell and Trubisky were so good. I don't understand it. What are you looking at that you think this guy's – you're going to take him with the 2nd pick in the draft? I can see in the 3rd or 4th round, taking J.J. McCarthy, taking this Drake May. No, I couldn't even do that. I wouldn't even draft them. Then they're looking at guys like Spencer Rattler. Like, okay, what is it that you think he's at? You saw him. He sucked at Oklahoma. He sucked at South Carolina. What the hell are you looking at that now I'm going to draft him? Why? Because he can throw past 20 yards? Does he know which team he's throwing to? It's not a winner. You can't win at Oklahoma. You ain't winning here. I mean, Oklahoma is just a pure system, and he sucked there. So I don't. Where's he coming from? The Tulane guy is good. He wins. I don't know. Frank Harris, I think he already came out. UTSA guy. But where are you going with Penix? Why are you ignoring Penix? He hurt his knee 5 years ago. Well, the Lions drafted that wide receiver from Alabama who sucks, that Williams guy. He's no good. They drafted him in the first fucking round. He had a bad knee. He gets hurt every play. It's a joke. I was watching an Alabama-Georgia game. They throw the ball to him. He drops it. He finally catches one, and he's running, and he hurts his leg as he's running in the game because he's scared of the Georgia guys. He's not a good receiver. But the Lions drafted him in the first round. They ignored the knee injury, and he gets hurt every game. He's scared. This is not a guy you waste your first round pick on. It's amazing everybody thinks the Lions GM's so good. I'm scratching my head going, well, you guys are watching a different game than I'm watching because I don't see it. Jared Goff, really? You're sticking with him? Now, that's the coach's decision. That's a bad decision. I don't mind the hooker pick, but then play the guy. And then you've got I don't like the running back pick. I thought that was terrible. Because there was other running backs you could have gotten in the 5th round that were just as good as this guy from Alabama who I never heard of. And I hear of everybody, right? If it was a big stud from Alabama, I would have known about it. I heard that guy go, who's this guy? Didn't do anything. Certainly didn't run against Georgia for any yarders. So you got a lot of GMs who don't know what they're doing, Greg and John, who want to take, I don't know. So Washington's not sure. Believe me, the whole 32 teams have no clue what they're doing. They might be sure Chicago's taking Caleb, but that's the wrong pick. So they might be sure of it, but they're not doing what they should be. They're not going to be any better with Caleb. But look they drafted Fields. Boom, he's gone. They drafted Trubisky. Boom, he's gone. None of them, Indy, now they got rid of Minshew. So now they got Richardson, who's their backup when Richardson gets hurt. Richardson's that good. He runs and hurts his shoulder. What the hell is that? What kind of quarter? Sounds like he did it on purpose to get out because he's not a good quarterback. All right, so the draft's Thursday. Put it this way, most of these teams have no clue. Now, I'm in Detroit. You'd have to pay me to go to the draft. I don't care. It's a stupid thing that people would actually go watch the draft. But why don't you go watch paint dry? What are you going for? So I don't get it. I don't get why they're going. I don't want to know. I wouldn't pay 5 cents to go. And basically, you just turn it on. Monday night at 11 o'clock, or Thursday night, I'll go, who got drafted? And I'll see or I'll see the first 10 picks, and I'll bitch, where's Penix, Hartman, and Bo Nix, and you took McCarthy, and so I'll bitch about that because these are just idiots that are clueless that should not be drafting. And they don't, Arizona should not be taking Marvin Harrison 4th. Arizona needs defense. Okay, this is the problem. These teams go draft offensive receivers that you could get in the 5th round, 6th round, who will be just as productive. Look at Pukanuka. Was he 7th round draft pick out of UCLA, I think? Why would you draft? You didn't need to get him in the 1st round. That's my point. You can get a Pukanuka anywhere, right? And who was in the 1st round, was a flop. Most of them are. Most of them get the money, and they don't even try now. It's like NIL. They want the money, but they don't play. I want a player. I don't want a guy who wants the money. I remember saying that at work at one of my jobs, and I said, he was talking about bonuses. I says, I'm not motivated by money. I'm motivated by problem solving. I'm happy that I hit Atlanta over 9 a couple days ago. That I'm happy about. Or I'm more happy I hit Kansas City to win the Super Bowl. That I'm happy about. More so that I picked the winner than the bet, than the amount of money. I'm happy I buy the gold and silver I buy. I'm happy that I thought about buying the gold and silver more so than the gold and silver value, but it's starting to move. And that'll lead us into gold and silver. So I think we're done with the draft. There's really not much I can say. Your best quarterbacks, Daniels, Penix, and Nix. Your next best is Hartman and Tulane guy and maybe Caleb. And that's it. And McCarthy, May, and whatchamacallit, Rattler shouldn't even be drafted. Rattler's no different than Trubisky, right? He's you're not going to win games with them. You're going to be lucky to get first downs with them. What's the big deal? What are you doing with Rattler? What are you even bringing? He's a free agent at best. Even if he's on your team, he sucks. He didn't do anything in college that deserves it. So what are you doing with Drake May and Rattler and these guys? These guys suck. All right, here's my goal. I don't know why the site does it. So here you go. Silver 28.67. Gold got up to 24.01 for a minute at 1:30, and then dropped a little to 23.97 and dropped to 23.87 and ended up 23.91 basically. So we know it's price fixed. Nobody is selling. We know at about 8 o'clock, it dropped 10 points. The 10 o'clock drop was only 23.85 to 23.80. So it really only dropped 5 points at 10 o'clock. See, they're running out of steam doing the derivatives. And then it went up. And then here's the derivative at about 3 o'clock, 23.97. That is not profit taking. That is the Fed trying to lower the price. But the more they wash out, the less they have left to do, and there's less gold. And you can only do it if you have physical gold, because China's buying all the gold, and India, and every central bank in the world. So don't get fooled when it goes down that there's no demand. There's it's like 100 million or $200 million of sales every month at Costco for the 1 ounce gold bar, the Swiss gold bar. It's weird because personally, I prefer coins. Personally, I don't mind quarter ounces, half ounces, or ounces. So I'm fine with all that. I prefer the coin, and I put it in my nice protected thing, and it's in my safe. And really, to tell you, the 1 ounce bar, it's doesn't do anything for me. Do I always have 20? Now it's going to cost you $2,500 for it. Do you have $2,500 just lying around? Maybe you can buy a couple of ounces, but not 20 ounces. You know, not every week or every month you're going to buy 20 ounces of gold. 10 ounces would cost you $25,000. So how many, but I can go to the coin store and I can buy a 1/4 ounce for 600, 650. I can do that, but I can't do 2,500 a week, or the 1/10 of an ounce are 270 now. So anyway, hold on. I got to say hi to Daria. It's all right. It's my Daria. She's home today, so that's good. All right, so you can see there's a little less of the 2 o'clock. So we're getting this new 2 in the morning drop from Asia. There's a 6 in the morning drop from Asia, which are new. And then, so you can see that drop to 2374 is about 8 a.m. That started about 6 a.m. Then it pops up, and then the 10 o'clock is dying out. That's the US and London, and off we go. So usually after the 10 o'clock drop, we're going to get this increase pretty much every day. So it's going to start jumping. So here's 10, and by about noon, there it goes, and we know we shouldn't get much drop on it. And we'll look at silver. Silver is a little bit different. As you notice, the same little 6 o'clock drop till about 8, and that it went wild. There was no real major 10 o'clock, and it goes up in the same little snake down at about 2:30, 3 o'clock. It starts to come down a little. So again, 28.78 it got to. It ended at 28.67. It did drop to 28.08. So silver's sitting in the 28s, but we know that's going to end soon. So is there demand for the product? Huge demand between BRICS, central banks buying gold, China, Russia. Now, are they out? They're also buying a lot of silver, China and India, silver to go up as a money more than we want the industrial. They'll try to keep the price down to afford the solar panels, and silver is a very good conductor in it. But we want it to be like gold, where gold's purpose is money. I'm getting out of this shit and I'm buying money. That's gold's purpose for us. That's what we want. In this case, we're not really looking at much of silver for money yet. And the producers need to go to the mines because COMEX is like blown up. They don't have any silver to sell them. Well, I need it. Where do I go? So they're starting to go right to the mines, and we need a higher price. So that's what's happening to silver. It's a little bit different. It's not a tier one asset like gold is. It's not a where if they do a derivative, they have to, and somebody wants to buy it, they have to sell it to them. So they have to have gold, and it goes up to 24, goes up $26, and then it ends up $10, $11. And yet you look at silver, and it's 43 cents, and you're like, what the fuck? Why does silver move in cents and gold moves in dollars? This I don't know. There's just a lot more demand, and there's a lot less gold than there is. Not a lot less gold than silver, but gold has 250,000 tons. Silver, I think, has 600,000 tons. But gold you can't wear out. This could be Julius Caesar's necklace I'm wearing, or the gold I'm buying could be from ancient Rome, because it never goes away. However, silver does die out. So when you're using silver in a phone or computer, it's gone. It can be used up. So there's not as much silver. The 650,000 tons is what was dug up, but I don't know if there's still 650,000 tons there. This is we don't know. And it does wear out where gold doesn't. But yeah, it just doesn't make sense. I think we're going to see silver starting. So according to Mark McGuire, and we'll listen to this, it's looking to break 30, and it should be breaking this 28.67. These are the Fed's derivatives keeping the price down. There's no demand. There's huge demand for silver and gold. This is what's frustrating. We analyze it and we go, oh, is there demand? And you go, yes, there's huge demand. And you go, okay, price should go up if there's demand. Okay. And with that said, the price isn't going up. And then you get this interference because they're not listening to the invisible hand and laissez-faire economics, which is just get the fuck out of it. Leave it alone. Let the market handle it. See, everything that the government interferes with is a problem. Interest rates, the gold and silver price, the economy. If they get into price fixing, anything they do where they want to control it by not the free market, but by them, is absolutely, it's terrible. It's absolutely the worst thing that can happen, because you need the market to control itself. That's why it's hands off. Let the market run. So in other words, we'll go to our mall. Well, let's go to our Canadian club. I brought this in the interview at Canadian Club. He says, oh, my dad used to work there or something. And I said, oh, well, here you go. I work there. So we got to let the market control this price. I put it at the grocery store. It cost me $25 a bottle to make because I got to pay for the bottle. I got to pay for the labor. I got to pay for the cap. I got to pay for this, the design. So I got to, get a marketing team, the design of the bottle. All that costs money. So I added up. The whiskey doesn't cost much if you do a lot of bottles. Then it's per unit, like cars. So let's say my cost $25. So I try to sell it for $35 and the market takes it. And then there's a lot of demand and the market goes to $50 a bottle. Oh, okay. That's demand. That's the market. And the market will settle on the price. $65. Yes, the market takes it. The market likes it. The more demand, the higher the price. I don't want government interfering and saying you can only sell this for $20. Well, fuck off. It cost me $25 to make this thing. The market's going to let me sell it for $60. And that's really the point of it, is that I've got the product and there's the market, and they're going to buy it at whatever they deem necessary. So when I go look for New York strip steaks and they're $10 and I'm the market and I determine that's fine, and they raise the price to 20 and I go, no, I'm not going to pay you $20 for a New York strip. The government doesn't need to be involved. That's between me and the butcher. Me in the grocery store. They want to sell it at 20. I'm not going to buy it. Guess what? They're going to lower their price because they can't sell it. The whole goal for them is to sell it. And they're pushing the price to see if they can get it. And if we sit there and go, nah, it's too much, they won't sell it. I did that yesterday. I was going to go to a Chinese buffet. I'm going to get General Chow today, but I was like, I hadn't eaten much. I was exhausted from the interviews. I went to the pool and I was hungry. And I go, you know what? I'm going to go. There's a new Chinese buffet. It had closed. It's reopened a mile from the club. So I go in. I want the buffet, typical Chinese buffet, right? And she goes, $25. I says, excuse me? Yeah, the buffet's $25. I said, have a nice day. And I turned around and walked out. $25 for a Chinese buffet? I mean, normally you pay $15 for one or something, but I've never heard $25 for a buffet. You've got to be kidding me. That's too much to pay for a Chinese buffet. And I know Vegas is doing that, where the buffets used to be $2-3, right? $4 for a lunch or $10 for a dinner buffet. And then theirs started to be $50-$60. I think Caesar's is like $60. And I'm like, you got to be kidding. I'm not paying $60 for a buffet. It's ridiculous because the food's not, it's sitting there and, it's not worth it. A buffet should be something that's quick. And the food's out, and there's ribs, there's chicken, and steaks. Okay, yeah, I'll pay $15, $20 for it. But a Chinese, so I left. That's the market talking. So now they're going to have a struggle. Can they get $25 for a buffet? I saw a family of 5 go in there, and I'm thinking they got $125 to pay for Chinese buffet when you could go to a Chinese restaurant. And pretty much they're, let's say, $15 meals. Okay. These kids, unless the kids eat cheaper. But I was like, I walked away. $25 for a buffet? You got to be out of your mind. So that's where you got to be. That's where the market says no. And now what does the Chinese buffet do? They've got to lower their prices because people are not going to spend that kind of money on it. They don't understand what the market is. I'm telling the guy at the rib place, you can't sell your ribs for $45, right? If you do, you just might as well close up. People can't afford it. How are they going to have a $25 buffet? Nobody's going to go there. There was 10 people there, and now I understood why. Now this was like 5:30. So I don't really get charging that. I don't believe that's the market with the inflation. I don't see how they'll ever make profit there. And they're going to lose a lot more money because they got to cook all the food. But you're not going to have anybody come in and eat the food because you're charging way too much. I'd say about $15, $17 I would have eaten. $15 I thought would have been right, maybe 17. But to call it inflation, I say, I don't give a shit about that. That to me is not, I'm the market. You've got to meet me. You can't sell the ribs for 45 because your cost's going up. Keep them at 25. If I go get ribs, I'm going to spend $25, $27. And that's fine. That's what I expect. That's what the market's saying. And that's with inflation. So, but if you want to start charging 40, nobody will order it. So that's the point. The market, let the market. We don't need the government coming in telling the Chinese people to sell it at, we're going to price fix it down to $10. It's all you can charge is $10 for the buffet. No, you got to let the market dictate. But here's how the market dictates. It's 25. It's too expensive. I walk out. you didn't get the sale, but you've cooked the food. You're going to lose your ass because you've cooked the food and nobody but the market won't pay $25 for it. So now what are you going to do? You got to throw out all the food you cooked, or you're going to recook it. Who knows? You're going to lose your ass at $25. You're not going to get enough people to cover the cost of making all the food for a buffet. You can make a lot more if you sell it at 15, 17. At least you'll get people to pay for the food. So your whole idea is, I got to pay for all the food, the electricity, the rent, and everything else for the building. So I got all these costs, but I'm trying to sell it at $25 a buffet. Nobody's going to come. So you need to lower your price to get the market to pay for all your costs. They won't be in business for a month. I mean, how many times are you going to get $25 buffets? I mean, I'm going to go get General Chow. Plus, that's the other thing. I can go get General Chow. It's $15. So if I can do that, I don't need your buffet. So then it becomes, there's substitute. I can substitute your buffet for my Chinese restaurant. That's how the market works. The market dictates that this is what we will pay. We are in control. Don't ever think not. We control it. You can inflate the dollar, which is what you're doing, which takes money out of our hands, which makes we can even afford less. So I don't have $25 to spend on one buffet versus I can go tonight and spend 15, but I only have so much because you're taking, not only are you making things cost more, so I have less money, but you're making my money worth less. So as I said, $100 bill is only worth $5 right now. That's why the buffet's 25. It's 25 USD, so it's probably about $10, $1980. It's probably $10 for the buffet. But that's the other thing that you're blindsided by is you got to realize, but $25 isn't $25 anymore. It's maybe 10. So really, I would have been paying $10 to go to the buffet. So you just got to realize your dollar's worth less. That's why it's $25 to go to the buffet. But again, your money's limited, so you really can't go to the buffet when you could go to the other, just sit down at a Chinese restaurant, get General Chow, and it's $15. And it's better than the General Chow they were probably serving there. So you got to get used to the 25, and maybe you do it once a month or once every quarter. Again, but it's very expensive. It's still $25 that you're not used to. You're not calculating that $25 is really $10. It's still 25 because you're limited and you have your other bills to pay. But really, when your utilities, let's say they're $50 a month for your electric, and it's been $50 a month for a couple of years, it's really like $20 a month now because of the inflation. The dollar isn't worth anything. So that's really the key. And as people start realizing that it's really not the price, the Chinese price isn't really high, it's the dollar going out. People don't, again, I go, wow, $25 too high, but it's really the dollar losing value. So I got to come up with $25 to get to the same point I was at. That's worth $10. And that's the part that people don't get. People think $100 is $100 is $100, and a 20 is a 20 and a 20. It isn't. It's what does it buy? So you now need 25 to go eat Chinese buffet. In a nutshell, that's the dollar losing. I need more dollars to eat the same meal. basically is what it is. But you won't put two and two together. And, the restaurant, their food price went up. And again, it's not their food price. Their money's worth less. So it takes them more money to buy their food. So they think they got to charge more. But the market says, no, no, no. Even though the money is worth less, I'm only going to give you $15 for your buffet. Or I'll try to find another buffet, or I will simply go eat the meal for $15. I'm willing to spend $15 on Chinese is the point. Now, when I get back to work, hopefully I get one offer out of the 3 that I just interviewed with. Thought they were very good interviews. I was very stoic. Hopefully I get an offer. Now I'm making a lot more money. Now maybe I go to the buffet for $25. Maybe it's okay. I got money. I can do that. We'll see. But then it becomes a struggle going, but I want to buy more gold and silver than eat the buffet. So I'll go to the grocery store and buy hamburgers and get gout in my foot. Anyway, so that's really economics in a nutshell, how the market controls things and why we don't want the government involved. We will determine what we're going to spend, and the guy selling it has to determine what he will accept. Canadian club, I need $35. Chinese guy needs, he might need $25, but at the end of the day, what will the market pay me? What is the market for it? If the market is $35, if my costs are $25, then I'm okay. That's the whole point. So it's what is the market? What can I get? And then what is it going to cost me? And then what's happening with the inflation is as the dollar loses value and it takes you more dollars to buy things, where you were doing well in your business, your costs are 25, you're selling it for 35. Now all of a sudden your costs have gone up to 35. And you got to realize that you cannot just raise your price. The market's telling you 35. Now your costs are 35. You're not making any money. So you do one of two things. Can you cut any cost? And if you can't substitute things out, can you raise the price? You probably can't raise the price because, like we talked about the Chinese buffet, that's all I'm going to pay you. Because the market is very sensitive going, no, I can go other places. I can go to the regular Chinese restaurants. So I'm not going to go to your buffet. I don't need the buffet. It's nice for $15, but $25 is pushing it, right? So you end up not going to the buffet for the 25 is the market. And so there you're pushing, will the market allow me to charge 25 for the buffet, or can I raise my Canadian club from 50 to 75 because my costs are up? So you do one of two things. You either go out of business because there's no point in being in business. If my costs are now 50 and I can only sell it for 50, what the hell am I making it for? Right? It's cost me too much to not make profit on it. And then your other choice is cutting expenses. So I'll lay off people. Oh, that's not, you need the work done. So like in finance, you still need the budget done. You still need to pay your taxes. You still need to do payables and receivables and pay your bills. So how do you cut people? You're going to cut people. Well, I'll hire a guy like Howard and he can do 12 jobs. Yeah. And I won't pay him either. So that's really the point is, does your business model still work? It cost me 25. I can sell it for 40. All right. Now my costs are 40. Can I raise my price to 60? Probably not. Now, how do I cut costs to get back to 25? And that's what's happening now. That's because they're not on the gold standard. If they're on the gold standard, nothing would change. And inflate the supply and lower the value of it. When they do that, you screw up the whole economy because now businesses, the costs go up, but they can't always raise their price. And people buying don't have as much money to buy with. So the ironic part about it is all the rich guys are going to get screwed. because they won't buy gold and silver because they're smarter than everybody else and they won't realize it. And then when the dollar goes out, they're going to be holding billions of worthless dollars. And only those in gold will have made it, will have survived. All right. So with that wonderful thing, let's go to Mark McGuire. All right, Mark, let's go to. I love how Mark titles this Bricks Gold Train Leaving. And I made a comment like, no, it's the boat left the dock. If you're going to copy my words, at least copy them right. So I've done several videos where I said the boat's leaving the dock or the boat's left the dock. So he's trying to be clever without giving me credit, saying, "Oh, the train's leaving." Yeah, okay, real original, Mark. We haven't heard that one. This is a very confusing one by Mark. He gets too technical. I'm falling asleep trying to listen to it, but let's go.
I usually talk about. So in this current environment, we've been going up, but there will be pullbacks. Where do you see the support levels when we finally do begin to consolidate?
Yeah, let's briefly look at the options structure and then dissect. Now, it's important to look at this because there is very little reporting going on in the, we talked about delayed reporting. When the COT report, 3 days old in a picosecond world, that's ridiculous. And actually the data is available. But it's deliberately held back. So when we do get a report that we can look at, we do like to dissect it a bit. Now, from a gold futures market perspective, the cartel is still very wrong-footed at 2,250, at 2,300. But this resistance drops away rapidly above 2,400. However, this is the over-the-counter derivative positioning that is their problem. It's the over-the-counter derivative positioning that is their problem. And given that this is where the global price is actually set, not so much in the COMEX, reflecting very large physically settled SGE premiums, liquidity providers see these arbitrable disconnects to ultimately to drive 3,000 spot gold just to still be magnetic, regardless of this structure. And it's seen in this structure too. A very short term, we may see the CTAs tricked into going short. They already have to some degree. However, the very large central bank size bids building under the market between 2,000 and 2,300 spot have not been touched. And we would suggest the cartel would be very careful not to drive the CTAs to leverage themselves into these central bank bid levels. As they failed to do, the cartel failed to do this on February the 14th. We looked at this last time when the CTAs controlling, don't forget, they control over 75% of all the speculative open interest. They ignited so much of a gap that it ran straight through 2,000 spot, hitting these central bank orders, which in turn caused the cartel a world of pain.
And he's losing his mind. He's talking like in Chinese. Like, what are you saying? So the CTAs are the JP Morgan and the Goldman Sachs banks who are doing the derivatives to keep the price down for the Federal Reserve because they're trying to price fix it. So those are the price fixers, and they're getting their ass kicked. That's the 10 o'clock drop and the 6 o'clock drop I show you are those banks. So he's rumbling on. I mean, it's incoherent what he's saying, unfortunately, but I think he's still talking about 2000. So from what I got out of that was once we get over 2,400, the point will be 3,000. So he's saying, he does say that he thinks 3,000 will be the bottom. We're basically 2,400 now, 2,390. And we will see. So he's saying, all we need to know is the Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, CTAs are the ones. So when I tell you there's no profit taking, it's huge demand. They're the ones fighting us. Those are the drops you see are from the bullion banks doing derivatives. So they control a lot of gold with a little money, doing derivatives to get the price down, because they can't, because they run the Ponzi scheme of the Wall Street and the banks. So those are two Ponzi schemes they're running. And if they don't lower the price, then people will jump into gold and silver and not be in the Ponzi scheme. That's the out of the Ponzi scheme. So if Madoff was still around, you could get out of Madoff and go into gold and silver, right? But Madoff wouldn't want you to leave, because then he needs money coming in. I don't know if he would want you to leave or not. He just wants to keep getting money in and not invest it. But anyway, so that's what he is. Let's see if there's anything else.
Should be wary, as this was the catalyst to drive a 2-month $450 rally into last Friday's all-time high at 2,448.80. These are the futures prices. Now, liquidity providers estimate that by breaching freshly aggregated central bank bids at and sub 2,300 spot, and there's about a 16 difference between spot and futures, it would once again blow back on the cartel, but from a much higher price. Now, given the rising technical 10-day moving average, we always look at these because it's a place where the CTA long stops can be fished, and it was a no-brainer. This was two-way rinsed. And as of today, which is Wednesday, at spot gold 2350-ish, which is another level where this is where the 10-day moving average is at 2350, which is another level where we see central bank bids are beginning to build. So it's not ideal situation for the Fed.
Andy, as usual, my friend, you are all over the silver market as well. Just spot on. You called that breakout above 26. I know we're waiting for some closes above 28,
I don't know who this clown is.
As well.
An idiot.
Now that we're above 26, where do you see the silver market headed here in the near future?
Yes. So silver options footprints relate to the silver cartel. And just like gold, they're also very interesting.
He wasn't finished with the gold analysis.
Has now aggregated well above that 13-year resistance level at 26,225, the level we outlined as the major inflection point. And now, even though they are desperately trying to defend a rise in silver, we see resistance at $28 beginning to evaporate, with the next short squeeze inflection point at $30. So, in fact, talking about gaps to fill, this is to the upside. Now, you can also get gaps to fill. When you have a lot of longs to rinse, then it can be a downside gap. But when you've got a lot of shorts to rinse, who really are naked short, who don't have anything to deliver, you can also see gaps to the upside. So, so there's a gap to fill to $35, then to $50. That starts to get magnetic. And because really at this point here, you've got a race for the exits. And as it then becomes more of a bid-only market. So relative to gold, silver really ought to be $200 right now. And a breach of the 50 level will commence a parabolic silver move higher. Now, given the strength in Indian and Chinese silver demand, bolstered by safe haven, geopolitically driven demand as well, once the current CTA-induced selling settles, a strong physically driven rally will resume. Note, physically driven. Now, so really in summary, from a short-term perspective, when weighed up with what we see in the over-the-counter markets, where a very large over-the-counter bearish options bet was actually reported to have been squared on Monday, hence the low that was made on Monday. These options footprints confirm the cartel's wrong footing in both gold and silver futures. You have to look through to the 10 times larger over-the-counter market. However, like it or lump it, the LBMA CME-centric cartel is restricted to how much rinsable CTA open interest, i.e. how many chips that these casino chips these guys hold, how much is available, and to the degree that they can actually incentivize these specs to flip short, following the attempted chart painting objective of trying to instill this gold correction narrative, which of course would become a silver correction narrative. And look, to some degree, these officially spun narratives can gain traction. But the scope of these sell-offs are limited to gaming the blinkered CTAs who, being siloed in the only, and they're only allowed to trade the US-centric markets, they have no view into the underlying strength in the global physical wholesale markets, and completely oblivious to the fact that gold and silver markets are increasingly being physically settled outside the LBMA CME ring-fence synthetic casino offerings that these guys are restricted.
So basically, so what does he say? That they're getting less and less of silver at 28. When silver hits 30, it goes to 35, and then it breaks that, it goes to 50, and then when it gets past that, it goes to 200-300. So it's being held down by the cartel, the JP Morgan, and doing these derivatives, but they're not. What he's saying is they're not looking at there's this huge physical demand by China and India for the gold, for the silver, right? Huge demand, but it's physical, and they're not reading the fit. They're looking at the paper, not the physical part of it. So they're shorting into this huge demand. They're out of their freaking minds. So it's a little bit. The more they do the derivatives, then they run out, and then it moves up higher and higher. But we still see that derivative come in, and so basically, we're struggling till we get to $30 silver. Then we'll go to 35, and then I'm sure we'll struggle. Then it goes to 50. Over 50, it goes to the moon. So that's what we're waiting for. And again, that's the paper side. The physical side's strong and very, much, much stronger than the paper side. This is why so as he's saying, it's going to a physical market, but we're not at a physical market right now. That's why I keep saying we're buying physical gold. I'll use my gold chip. We're buying physical gold at paper prices. That's exactly what we're doing. The derivatives are not free market. I'm going to pay $50 for the Canadian club. That's what the market says. The market for gold and silver, the real market, the physical market is much, much higher. Gold's 10,000, silver's 250. But you've got the paper derivatives trying to keep the price down so we stay in the Ponzi scheme of Wall Street and the banks. And that's what we're trying to get away with. I don't know what that is. Why are you calling me during class? I only stopped for Daria. That's it. So that's really the key point. So just relax. You understand the game now. It's the bullion banks, cartel, whatever the hell he wants to call it, trying to keep the price down. So you'll buy stocks and real estate trusts and have your money in the bank versus going into gold, and nobody knows you're in gold. It's very safe. It can't go to zero, but they don't get commissions on it. For some, I don't know why. They should do it like everything else and say, oh, yeah, buy gold and we want our commission. I mean, they'd make a lot more money in commission if they told you to buy gold. Because if you buy gold at 1,700, now it's at 2,400. That's $700 an ounce. You own 50 ounces, you just made a whole lot of money. You have 50 ounces at 1,700. And now it's 24. So you've made 700 times 50 ounces. One, two, three. That would be $35,000 you would have made. And it's not going down. It's not going to, there's no profit taking. As I said, you are not profit taking gold to go back on the Titanic. You don't want to do it. So what you have is a beautiful market where if I'm in Microsoft or Amazon and it goes up and I want to profit take, most people don't even understand what profit taking is. When I'm at poker and I go, I'm quitting a winner, people don't understand that. What does quitting a winner mean? It means I'm not losing. I'll take $50 and I quit. I won $50. Then I didn't lose. Let's say I normally start with 300. I didn't lose the 300. It's just the idea that you won and then you come back later that day, or if I'm in Vegas, I might play 5 times, but I'll quit a winner each time and I got to win. And that's the whole point of playing. You're playing to win. So with that said, if you're in stocks and you own Microsoft and you bought it at 100, it's 150, at what point are you selling it? Oh, I'm not going to sell it. It's just going to keep going up. I remember that guy. I was at a Meijer's grocery store and like a Costco, and the guy said, we were talking about the prices going up, and I said, so what do you? Oh, I'm in Amazon. It never goes down. And I pull out my phone, and it just went from 130 to 120, and I'm like, really? What is this $10 going down? I says I'm in gold, and that if it goes down, it's because of the derivatives. It's not because of demand. So at what point are you taking your profit, Mr. Amazon? And he won't. Oh no, I'm just going to leave it in. It's just going to keep going up and up and up. What are you going to do with these people? They're just beyond. They're just idiots. I mean, this is not the way it works. Gambling, you win and you lose. You have hot streaks and cold streaks. It doesn't just go up. You're living in a fantasy. Oh, red's going to hit at roulette. How long are you going to play roulette? I'm just going to keep playing it. It's going to keep hitting. Really? You never seen black hit on a roulette wheel? Okay. Good luck to you. When you need money, don't call me. I wouldn't give you a penny. This is the way people think. They just fully don't understand it. So it's good sign. Just keep being patient. The BRICS announcement, May 14th, which is now a couple weeks away. It's already been green lighted. They're going to a gold-backed currency. Now, I hear people calling it a digital currency, but I don't see that. You've got to, maybe it'll work like you get paid like the direct deposit, and then it goes and you use your credit card. You're really not touching the money, but at least I know I have money. I'm very leery about money I can't touch. I can get paid and I can go to the bank and pull it and go to the gold store and give it to them and buy my gold. So I'm not really sure what digital means. If it's all going to be direct deposited into your bank account, your paycheck, and then you use debit and credit cards or whatever you're going to use. I assume it'll be a debit card with the digital money on it. The money will be worth gold. It'll be gold back. This I'm not sure, but I am a little worried about. So let's say I'm in here and I go to I go to Germany, or we go to Barcelona, let's say, and I can't use my US dollars. I've got to use euros. So how do I change that? Is it just ATM it? And then wow, how am I going to get the euro out? Like, how do I get this out of the ATM so I can use it in Europe? And how are you going to differentiate this from this? So I've got this digitally, and now I need this digitally. And how do they know I have euros? Very confusing. So I don't know. I'm confused by the digital. I don't really trust it. I don't trust that I can't get this. That's really what it's just how it is. I want the card. I want the money. I want it in my hands. I don't want to hear the internet's down. You can't get to it. I don't want to hear any of that negative bullshit. I mean, so we will see, but I can't imagine Russia not coming out with ruble or BRICS, not coming out with some BRICS currency. So I know it's really for China to buy oil from Saudi Arabia, and they want to pay in gold, and they're going to pay in digital gold. Well, how do you do that? So we know China's got 60,000 tons of gold. So what are they going to do? Are they going to take 10,000 and then say, well, the value is what? And then create so much digital dollars to tie out to the physical gold they have. You got to have physical gold. You can't have digital gold. Be physical, the gold bars. So if they have that and it's worth, let's say they have 5,000 tons. So times what? To 3,000 times all the what did I say? 10,000 tons. That's how many digital dollars you're going to have. How are you going to keep track of that? And then how do you pay? So you're going to just transfer a wire to Saudi Arabia to pay for the oil, or to Russia to pay for the oil in BRICS. Okay, I mean, maybe, but I don't know if you're going to do that for the public. Like I say, if I go to China, how do I turn this into gold-backed BRICS currency? That's going to be where my questions lie. And how do you know how much you have? Because you only have 10,000 tons of it, which is huge. And then if the price of gold goes from 5,000 to 10,000, now you have a lot more. I don't know. It bothers me if it is digital, but I'm like, Zimbabwe is paper, so I'm hoping it's like Zimbabwe, where I can go sell my ounce of gold and get BRICS BRICS gold back currency for it. I don't want to get on the Titanic. I don't want this for my gold. All right, so let's go back to Mark McGuire. All right, let's go here.
Andy, what are you hearing about China? Can you share with everybody what we were chatting about before we got started?
Yes, and this also ultimately leads into the current beta testing of Glazier's soon-to-be-announced gold-backed currency. Now, while Westerners focus on the intraday and intra-week market swings, China takes a more pragmatic, longer-term view. And with lessons learned following the weaponizing of the SWIFT banking system against Russia in 2022, China is increasingly encountering friction relating to Taiwan and facing down the US in the South China Sea. And these geopolitical escalations are not going unanswered. Not just what we see in the currency crosses, where China swaps dollars for the NSFR compliant gold, but China is now also sanctioning the US businesses providing arms sales to Taiwan. Now, this thing is starting to step up.
There's not going to be a
However,
war.
this all leads into the larger picture. We are absolutely certain that following Russia's lead, China has stepped up the process of divesting dollars aggressively, accruing thousands of tons of physical gold. This is not reported. And aside from the same,
First of all, there's zero chance that we're going to war with China. It's not even zero. It's less than zero. China does not want a war. China and Taiwan are together. They're not fighting each other. And the last thing China wants is a war. They want to make money. Wars don't make money. So they want to sell the shit they got to us and whoever else. So there's 0% chance of a war. They are selling their yuan $4, which is why COMEX is going up. The demand for the gold is huge. China and India. So, and Saudi Arabia and some of these other BRICS countries. So I'm sure South Africa are doing it. So what you got to realize is there's the demand. It's huge demand. So the price is never going to go down as long as there's demand for the gold. Why would the price go down? I'll pay more for it. I want it, I'll pay more. I want it, I'll pay more. Just like what we're doing. The guy had it at 20, I bought some at 22.50, and I go back a week or two later and it's at 20. I think I paid 24 for it. I paid 24 for it. I didn't care. I need the ounce more than to worry about the money. So gold is one of these unique things. You don't care what it costs. As long as you can afford it, I want the ounces. I want the gold bar. That's what you want. Price is not a condition, not like Chinese, right? Because I could substitute Chinese and go get General Tao today. I can't substitute. I can't really substitute gold for something. There's nothing I can substitute gold for. So I need the gold, and that's what I'm going to buy. So keep that in mind. And as long as China and India are playing, that price is never going down because they'll want the gold, and there's not that much gold out there left. All right.
Proofing mandate, gold priced in dollars at prices below $3,000 are viewed as grossly undervalued. And it was no coincidence that the usually thinner Asian-facing AM fixes. Now remember, you have an AM fix and a PM fix, and we talked about it last time. The AM fix is generally a smaller fix, with most of the settlement done on the PM fix. Not so. We started seeing the AM fixes beginning to evidence large Chinese buying. And this means, despite every attempt by the Fed to try and call a paper market top, as far as the physical markets are concerned, there is no nearby price ceiling to the gold rally, which commenced just 2 months ago on February the 13th, from $2,000, that is, followed by the near vertical stair-step leg that was ignited at 21.50 on March the 25th. And as we noted last time, this continued without pullbacks, and that was until the Fed intervened at 2448.80.
So that AM price fix, what I showed you on our chart was, and that's the only chart I'll ever show you. It's the daily gold is, I believe it's the 2 a.m. dip and then, or the 6 a.m. dip. Then London and the US, that's the 10 o'clock dip. So the 10 o'clock dip is them putting in derivatives, and that's not market. That's just them trying to keep the price down. So I believe it's either the 2 a.m. or the 6 a.m. is China. So there's a second dip going on, but China's buying is what he's saying. So that's when you saw the chart should just go up. There's nobody selling gold. Everybody's buying it. Why would the price ever go down if everybody's buying it and nobody's selling it, right?
Last Friday. Now, as we drew attention to in our last episode, during the last week of the first quarter, we noted the distinct change of behavior around these Asian-centric, Chinese-driven AM gold fixes. Now, with Indian buyers having switched horses to silver because higher gold prices, they were avoiding higher gold prices, we began to evidence very, very aggressive Chinese buyers populating this fix. Now, In fact, from the 25th of March, we evidenced 7 sequentially higher AM fixes in a row. That is unprecedented, and it points directly to China. And it was this action around the usually thinner AM fix that telegraphed an impossible to ignore change in behavior, with these buyers surgically attacking the paper gold cartel's mantra of selling paper gold at every pit open, which they did in the hope they could suck in enough CTAs to hold their coattails and to take the bait.
All right, so this is what he's talking about. So what he's talking about is this little 2 a.m. drop and this 6 a.m. drop are Asia. The 10 a.m. is very small today or yesterday. That's London, New York derivatives. So what he's saying is this new 6 a.m., 2 a.m. drops, that's what he's talking about. So they're trying to, the paper guys are trying to push the price down and China's going. So I think this is the China buy here at like 3 a.m. where it went up to 23.92. And then starting at like 8 a.m., it's starting to go up. That's China buying it. That's what he's talking about.
Circle back on. And we have increasingly drawn attention to the fact the Fed's officially driven paper gold price suppression mandate has just become far too obvious and was simply being capitalized on through the EFP, the Exchange for Physical Conduit. We talked about it. It's just the back door of the COMEX. It's the only ability to get a paper gold contract out into the compliant over-the-counter markets where they are deliverable. And so basically what that was doing was forcing the exchange of non-compliant, that is 97% leveraged COMEX open interest. In other words, all these positions are only backed by a tiny percentage of the value of those contracts. And be fully funded into NSFR-compliant physical bullion landing in London. Now, this constitutes a huge unwind of COMEX leverage, and at the margin is limiting the scope of the Fed interventions. Now, as an update to what we reported in our last episode, so as to give an idea of the scale, into the $260 rise from the low of the first quarter, which was 1996 and change, to 2256 and change, into the end of the quarter highs, these COMEX outflows comprised, as we said last time, 875 tons of NSFR compliant bullion, which is a quarter of all 2023 global mine production, on a one-way trip out of the COMEX casino. Since then, so far this quarter, gold has tagged this fresh 2448.80 futures high, evidencing another $191.90 per ounce all-time high. And as of yesterday, and we're recording this on Wednesday, we've evidenced another 144 tons of EFP outflows. So just during this quarter's first 11 sessions, these COMEX EFP outflows have now exceeded 1,019 tons of COMEX opens interest being drained and converted into physical, forcing the full funding of over 1,000 tons, 97% leveraged, undeliverable COMEX supply, which is draining sufficient COMEX open interest chips to be able to lay on rinsable CTAs, speculators, who are easy to flip out. Now, the Fed only controls paper gold to fight an increasingly physically settled gold market. And the exit of sufficient casino chips is what is causing the Fed to begin to fold its short gold hand. So just trying to give an update here. So very short term, it takes a liquid trading windows, such as we saw rigged on Friday, or front run or to front run insider known news events, and there's been reports where the BLS has actually admitted that they have preferable clients who get the data ahead of time. So we've already said, and I remember when I used to deal with the CFTC commissioner, Bart Chilton, he said, these newsrooms are really leaky, and they could put an end to it, but there are clearly inside tracks here. So when we say insiders, we mean insiders. So the Fed can orchestrate thinned conditions, news events which are inside known, and they can attempt to chart paint a narrative around those, but only to the extent they can wrong foot captive COMEX specs. This is what I'm really trying to drive home. But medium to longer term, the battle is already lost.
Okay, Andy, one last thing. It means.
So what that means is the price fixing that they've been doing for 50 years is coming to an end. In the long term, it's done. In the short term, they're running out of gold to do it with. So we just have a little bit more time of this bullshit price fixing until it goes to the moon. And that's what we know. So we know just be patient, but we're starting to see it now at 23.90 for gold. Pretty soon, the bottom is going to be 3,000, and then it starts getting interesting. Then it hits 5,000, and when they announce the gold-backed BRICS, announces the gold-backed currency, I'm not sure what they're going to do. Are they going to reset the price at 10 grand? Or what are they going to do? I don't know if they're going to reset the price or do what Zimbabwe's doing, which is saying, we're just whatever the price is at is what we're going to take. We're not going to control the price. So we want the free market into it. But as we can see, it's ending. Now it's going to end in gold before it ends in silver. So gold's going to go through the moon, and then silver, it's going to take a little bit more, but we'll run through the same thing. As they run out of silver, then the prices go. But you have big players in China and India, the rest of the BRICS countries, Saudi Arabia, Russia, of course, has a lot of gold and silver and oil and everything. They'll keep buying it. They're the demand for it. Here, we're too stupid. The U.S. is just far too stupid to buy gold. Why are they not buying gold? Knowing it's price fixed, knowing this huge demand, because we're going to need to go on the gold standard to survive here, right? We've got to go on. We can't. Nobody's going to want this when you can have a gold-backed currency. No matter how stupid we are here, you've got to go to gold. So they have to go to a gold standard. Why aren't they buying gold? I don't know. It's ridiculous. Let's see.
Free media, as usual, lost for explanations
The last
why
minute.
gold's going up. Bloomberg, CNBC every day. Analysts are befuddled.
Stupid
by why
question.
gold
Shut the
continues
fuck
to
up,
rally.
dude.
You and I know it's a physically driven rally this time. What are you hearing about what's going on behind the rally? Who might be driving it? Does it have anything to do with
China and India? He said it 5 times.
Of a BRICS gold-backed currency?
Yes. Now, given the breakout gold rally has only largely been driven by invisible over-the-counter related monetary gold transactions, what is confusing the analysts trying to understand the gold rally, why this gold rally, and why there's been an increase, while there's been an increase in the LBMA CME centric flows, they actually don't jive with the scale of this rapid gold price rise, and namely what is officially flowing into central bank coffers. So the entire issue leads back to the mainstream media still not understanding the implications of gold being reclassified by the Bank of International Settlements as a first-year asset class on the 1st of January 2023. This event is what opened up a large increase in unreported, bilaterally settled central bank and sovereign monetary gold demand. It isn't recorded on COMEX at all. This means that central banks, sovereigns, and institutional bilaterally settle spot gold over-the-counter buying now has to be physically deliverable. And by their very nature, these bilateral transactions are unreported. This opens up spot gold, over-the-counter gold purchases to feed central bank monetary gold purchases. And the lion's share of this monetary gold is being accrued by the BRICS-related Sino-Russian Gold Alliance, which was established back in 2013, but it really waited for this first quarter of 2024 to pull the trigger. Now, we look back on historically that these central bank purchases were being coordinated in concert with Russia and China activating the recent beta testing of Glasiev's green-lighted BRICS gold-backed commodity currency in readiness to be formally tabled ahead of the BRICS May 14th, 19 Kazan summit next month. And it's gone unnoticed that this is a multi-trillion-dollar project. It requires some very, very big money to be put into physical gold. And we have it on good authority that to do this surreptitiously, China has been deploying its very large 3.25 trillion of shadow banking reserves. And we'll look at the effect of this beta testing of Glasiev's green-lighted gold-backed commodity currency but let's first look at how vast tonnages of gold purchases have largely sidelined the LBMA conduit, because it explains why the analysts don't get it. While Russia had largely already divested itself of dollars in June 2021, openly announcing they were removing dollars from its national wealth fund, as of this March, China's State Administration of Foreign Exchange, the SAFE, reported holding officially 3.25 trillion of US dollar assets. And while at the margin it has served China well not to openly dump dollars, it is the over 3 trillion of unreported shadow banking reserves that are surreptitiously being exchanged for bullion in large tonnage size. Now, if you recall, in our early January 2024 episode, we drew attention to a little reported Bloomberg report that focused on the concerns made by former US and Treasury official Brad Setzer. Talked about this before, that China's reported 3.24 trillion of foreign exchange reserves comprise just half of what he estimates is closer to $6 trillion, which he expressed as presenting a new risk to the global economy. Now, the reason I revisit this now is that the sanction crosshairs are now shifting to China and incentivizing these dollar assets to be stealthily deployed, because if sanctions are put into place, we all know what happened to Russia. And if there any kind of situation with Taiwan comes in, or the face downs in the south. Now, Setzer was actually concerned that China's lack of transparency posed the West a major problem. And he made the point of saying, because China structurally is so central to the global economy, that anything it does, whether it's seen or unseen, would have actually eventually have an enormous impact on the rest of the world. Those were his words. Now, given...
All right, buddy. Anyway, so that's what's happening is the BRICS nations are buying all the gold. So the demand for the gold's there. That's why the price is going up. But because it's not reported on COMEX, because it's China and India doing this kind of, under the radar, then, people are like that. And then you have all the BRICS countries' central banks buying gold. So basically, the demand for gold is so big that the price fixing that the U.S. is trying to do to keep the price down, to keep us all in the Ponzi scheme of Wall Street and the banks, they can't do it, because as they take gold out, there's less derivatives they can do, because they actually have to have some gold to do the derivative. So basically, COMEX is being drained out of gold and silver. So they won't be the party's over for them soon. And because of all the rest of the world buying gold and silver, that's why the prices are going to the moon. And we're enjoying the ride with it. That's about all for Mark McGuire. He just talks in riddles. This guy should be the Riddler. He talks. It's hard to follow. That's why I try to explain. Even for me, I'm like, what the fuck are you saying? All right, Greg and John. I don't have anybody in the NBA playoffs. What's up, TK? Is that Egon? No, that's Mark McGuire. We will listen to Egon now. So. I was watching this one. If you ever want to learn how to defend yourself, this was a really good one. This guy, the Silot Master. And like the guy has a knife and he's telling you how to defend. It was a really cool one. All right. Here's
see you. How are you? Thank you very much.
Here's Egon. It's 7 minutes. We'll listen to it. It's always good to listen to.
Jan, there'll be a lot to talk about, not just today, but for the whole of this year, I think, Jan, because it's happening gradually, but still slowly. But there will be some major events coming later during this year. I'm quite certain. The inflation persists or remains higher than anticipated. It seems exactly what we were expecting happens. The inflation comes back. It remains stronger than the politicians and the Fed obviously thought. As we said, what came out of the bottle is not going to go back, right? Well, first of all, when inflation was under 2, they said they wanted up to 2, and then he went up a lot higher than 2, up to 7-8% in most countries or more. And then they say they're going to put it back 2 again. They have got no tools to change inflation. This is political or events outside their political sphere that actually makes inflation move. The interest rates have a very only nominal effect on inflation. So they think now it's going down to 2% again. Of course it isn't. My strong view is that inflation will remain high on a global basis together with interest rates. And this now, of course, excluding food and energy is ridiculous also in these figures, because that's what everybody eats something and everybody uses fuel, and they're a major part of most people's spending. We have a temporary reduction in inflation, although last month, as you said, it was higher, but you're still talking about 4 annualized. If you take 0.4% for the month, I mean, that's still almost 5% for the year. So it's still much higher than they intended to be. Inflation.
All right, first of all, you can't measure inflation. And secondly, it's printing the money, not prices. And it's amazing how many people don't understand that basic concept. It's because you printed $21 trillion, the money has no value, as we explain with the Chinese restaurant and the barbecue. Got nothing to do with prices, because as we said, the market controls the prices. If I don't want to pay $25 for the Chinese buffet, is that inflation that they raised the price to $25? Absolutely not. It's because the dollar's printed so much, it takes more dollars to go buy the Chinese buffet. So you can't measure it in dollars. You measure it in dollars inflated. You're inflating the supply of dollars. That's the inflation. Amazing.
Is here to stay on a global basis. Commodity prices will continue to go up, food prices will go up, and oil and fuel in general will also continue.
Yeah, it's the value of the dollar going to nothing.
We've seen now is not going to last. To increase the fear that the Fed might not lower the interest rates as expected, they are still playing the market. And I have here an interesting observation in an article by a Zero Hedge, Egon. The ETFs that used to accumulate gold, they continue to lose gold while the gold price is rising. We are close to a record, a very strong development. And I think it shows there is a good chunk of distract into those vehicles. We see here the gold price increasing, obviously, and the holdings, the ETF holdings, decreasing, continue to decrease. This is a very bullish sign. You have then funds and ETFs who have been selling gold since middle of 2000, and in spite of a rising price, they're totally on the wrong side of gold. But of course, the main buyers of gold currently are the BRICS countries and the central banks, and they are obviously ignoring what investors are doing short term. There will be a point when all of these funds and the ETFs will turn around, and once they turn around, they will be with the trend for a change now, which they haven't been for the last 3-4 years, and that will obviously put more fire under the gold price. So what we're seeing, those two graphs are very bullish for gold. Gold is at a high, and nobody's buying it, except for, as I said, BRICS and the central bank.
And
That's
us.
an extremely bullish sign.
Don't forget us, Egon.
When they buy gold, they don't buy in the market. They buy off market always. They only influence the price on the margin. Still, as I said, there's not so much gold around, and what is now available for purchase for these central banks in the BRICS countries is putting upward pressure on gold. And that's just the beginning, Jan. It's just the very beginning.
We know that the crypto and especially Bitcoin had an incredible bull run. Obviously, many new ETFs were registered or allowed to start trading, and that drew a lot of money into Bitcoin. We see here ETF flows and the repetition of what we just saw, the outflows in gold. And nevertheless, the gold price is rising, although we saw this big distraction and the inflow into Bitcoin, another very strong sign for this gold bull market to me.
This is a totally different market. And now, of course, since Bitcoin is continuing to go up, now banks have to get into it, funds have to get into it, and ETFs are created for Bitcoin. I'm still of this same opinion. It's a wonderful speculative vehicle. It doesn't from the point of view of replacing gold. It will never replace gold. It's just an entry on a computer. That's all Bitcoin is. It's got no intrinsic value. Gold has intrinsic value. And remember, half of gold production got into jewelry, and some goes into industrial. So we have the history of gold also, which is 5,000 years old against 14 years of Bitcoin.
Because they don't print it.
For the people who invested in Bitcoin, made a lot of money. My target is still, it could be $1 million or it could be zero, because what central banks decide to do. And therefore, it's not a good investment, and it's a high risk, and it's incredibly volatile, not suitable at all as money or as a replacement for gold. So good luck to the speculators, and I hope they make a lot of money, and I hope also that they get out in the right time. But anyway, it's nothing to do with wealth preservation, as we've always been saying.
Competition for fiat money, but the lakmus test still has to come when there is a hack or a big blackout. We will see what happens then. The gold you have, the real gold, is something completely different. When gold rises in your currency despite positive real rates, the gold market is saying your government will have a debt spiral if real rates remain positive. And amazingly, Egon, we had a long time correlation, a clear correlation here between gold and real rates. If this catches up, the real rate has to come down big time, which on the other hand means they have to lower the interest rates, right?
And normally gold goes up, and we can look at that since the 70s. I remember the 70s well. There was negative real rates. Negative real rates means that inflation is higher than interest rates. But now we have a situation when interest rates are actually higher than inflation, which is very unusual for gold to rise. But that means that gold is now signaling there are real problems in the world. Gold is not going up because of technical factors. They're going up because of geopolitical factors, and they're going up because of economic factors and the fact that most countries are running deficits and increasing debt at an exponential level, debts that can never be repaid. And this is why now the world is worrying about what's going to happen to the world economy and to money. Money will have to continue to debase at an accelerated rate, which means that your money, as it always has done, will go to zero against gold. This last fall started, as we both know, in 71 when the gold window was closed. And now we're down 97 to 99% of all currencies against gold. That is real money. And we have the last bit to go, is what we're seeing now. And that's why gold is going up. It's not gold going up, of course. It's the value of money going down. And people who don't understand that, they will lose out or miss out on protecting themselves by buying gold at reasonable prices, because at some point it'll be very hard to get hold of gold at any price because there's a finite supply of gold.
So basically, he doesn't know what inflation is not prices. If you're not calculating inflation rate properly, then he said the real rate. So the real rate is the money. Let's say it's 5%. So what he's saying is, inflation is 3%. So the real rate's 2%. That's bullshit. Inflation rate's 20%. The rate of the dollar is 5%. So the real rate's a negative 15%. Again, you got to understand what inflation is and that the rate is not 2%. That's just bullshit. Thank you, Greg and Jen. So it's really just, I don't know why people struggle so much with inflation. It's just you're printing the fucking thing to death. You printed 20.8 trillion of this. You can't print. I showed you this other MMT video where it says, oh, they can just keep printing and there's no consequences. It's bullshit. Yeah, we can hit an iceberg and the water will come in the ship, but you know what? It's unsinkable. The Titanic can't sink. Even if we hit an iceberg and all the water comes in, the boat still won't sink. That's how stupid the people were on the Titanic. It's unsinkable. It can't go down. We won't go on the lifeboat because it can't sink. Yeah, but the water's coming. The water's taking you down because you hit a fucking iceberg. And no matter what, so people think the dollar can't go out. It's out. It's gone. It's worthless now. It's the time of the iceberg hitting the Titanic and the water filling up until it sinks that people recognize we're going to sink. And that's what's happening now. You've printed the dollar to nothing. It has no value. Now we're in the filling of the boat with water stage until you realize that the dollar's collapsing. So that's what we're waiting on. We're in the gold boat. We're in the lifeboat, which is gold and silver, going, it's the dollar's gone. It's sinking. So we're going to sit here in the lifeboat, and then it's just we got to wait for the dollar to sink, which it basically has. That's what BRICS is all about. The central banks are dumping dollars and buying gold. That's the end of the line. If the dollar was so great, why would they sell it to buy gold? They wouldn't. And then the Bitcoin story. Why would the central banks not buy Bitcoin? Why are they buying gold? So that's two things I like to point out is there's a huge demand for gold. And Bitcoin is very, like, if you notice what Egon said, it's like, I hope you make a lot of money and get out and back to quitting a winner. So you're buying Bitcoin at $1,000, it's 60,000 or whatever it's at. Well, you only made money if you sell it. Because if you don't sell it and it goes down to zero, you could have made 60,000, but you didn't make anything because you didn't pull the trigger and take your profit. How do you gamble and not take the profit? We bet football all the time. How do you not? That's the point. We had a good week. We make $5,000. Take the profit, right? You take the profit. You go, thank you. You put it in your pocket, and then you go, now who's playing next week? But if you never take your profit, you're going to lose all your money. Because if you just keep going, we were up $5,000, now we're not. We were up $10,000, now we're not. That's why you add to the bankroll. You grow your bankroll, so you have to take your profit and add it to the bankroll. Then you get to bet more. That's how you win. Now, that's the problem is how are you playing? Are you playing to win or are you playing to just have fun? And that's why I go to the Gambler movie with James Caan, where he actually played to have fun. He didn't play to win. I like the juice of the bet, and I don't want to play safe bets that I could easily win. I like the juice of the unknown of betting to betting for the excitement, not to win. I do things to win. I get out. That's why I'm out of the stock market. And the boat sinks when this is worth anything. So they just kind of kept in concert going, you just need more of these because they're not worth anything. Nobody's raising their price. Like I said, NBA playoff, I'm not really that interested in it. All I can say is I will watch basically the psychology. So first of all, we got to learn the team. Secondly, we've got to learn the scenario. So if a team's down 2-0 and they go to the home and they go down 2-0 and then they got to go to the other place, they're going to play a very good game too. Now, are there injuries? I don't know half the players, so it's a difficult thing for me to do. I'm not watching the NBA playoffs. I really don't care about it. But the bet would be teams that need the game is who I would bet on. How many jobs you getting? Well, I interview with 3. So I will end up hopefully with one of them, right? So I've ranked them 1, 2, 3. I don't know who, if any, will make an offer. I hope, but I know, say I'm out of the dollars. So I know when it crashes, it's not going to affect me. The stock market crashes, it's not going to affect me. The gold's going to go up. Will affect you up. Then we lose. Right? But that's what we really got to keep in mind. Is the gold price will go. Gold price goes up because of demand. Business. Nobody can afford $25 for the buffet. You take a family of 4. I saw families going, it's $100. Where do they have $100 to take their family to a Chinese buffet? I mean, it's insane. So that's the afternoon. I'll take it. But if I get a choice, then I've already what I want, and that's where I stand. So, see, when you have everybody needs that. They need budgets. They need to run their business. So I'm liked and I'm demanded, and then I go interview with them, and it's just don't say anything stupid. And then I met him. I was very likable, very like I am here. So hopefully they'll go, yeah, we like Howard. He's got the experience. Let's bring him on. So we will see, but I'll know soon. And then back to buying gold. I'll probably keep the Social Security going because throw more tax on it. But this way, I mean, the dollar's going out, so the credit card will go out because I can't pay the credit card if there's no dollars to pay it with, and they'll have to stop charging, and then who knows what happens with the banks. So that's really what's going on. But I want to start paying them down a little bit. So that's what between the job and the Social Security is like one paycheck for me. And if I get 2 real checks, so versus the one Social Security, then I'll get 3 checks a month, which will be good. So we will see. But I'm excited for it. It's nice to get interviewed. And that's why you got to be stoic. When you ask a girl out, let's say, and she or not, she smiles at you. If she says hi, chances are she's interested. So that's the first thing. And then you see her, she got her girl out. Now if they say, so that's really the key is to getting the income in to pay the bills and help my girls and help the credit cards. And the goal is, that's really job provides better income, gives you a better quality of life. You can help your friends or pay your bills down. So that's, and I can buy more gold and silver, which will be but this first round. And I don't really know. I think Boston's the best team. No idea who's the best in the West. I think Utah and Minnesota and teams like that were very good. And we'll just see. If they're even, you bet the loser back, or you bet the team's down 2-0, then you bet them because they can't afford to go down 3-0. I mean, very simple like that. Anyway, I think that's it. I'm off to the pool, then off for Chinese. Have a good day. www.teaserking.com. It'll be about the same time tomorrow, about 11-ish.